everyone, welcome back to my educational channel on biology. I'm teacher Janet. In this video, we'll discuss biology Form 5 subtopic 6.4 kssm syllabus on the development of seeds and fruits after double fertilization in the ovary of a flower. So what is your favorite fruit? Usually each person will have a favorite fruit, huh? And is it durians or bananas, apples, pineapples, mangoes or others? Now, have you ever seen a fruit forming on the tree? How does a flower transform into a fruit after fertilization, right? So if you consider a tomato, the fruit wall is very juicy, right? It actually develops from the ovary wall in the flower. So various parts of the flower will undergo development to form various parts of the fruit after double fertilization. For example, the ovule will become the seed. So let's find out more about this development of seeds and fruits after double fertilization. The learning standards are as follows. 6.4 Development of seeds and fruits. Number 1, we should be able to describe double fertilization and the development of seeds and fruits. Now, double fertilization has been explained in the previous video. So we are now going to describe the development of seeds and fruits. Number 2, relate the structure of seeds to ovules and relate the structure of fruit to ovary. Okay, for the third learning standard. So our suggested activity is we are going to observe the structures of fruits such as mangoes and legumes such as the pea fruit. Relate the structures of the flowers to the fruits. That is, seeds develop from ovules in the flowers, seed coats develop from the integuments in the ovules, and fruits develop from the ovaries in the flowers. So apart from that, in the next video, at least for the next video, we'll collect specimens to study the 4 different types of fruits. Okay, so there are 4 different types of fruits here: the simple fruit, the aggregate fruit, the multiple fruit, and accessory fruit. Now this will be covered in the next video. So please continue to view the videos, okay, the coming videos, which will be posted very soon after this video. So here's an overview of chapter 6, sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Now, in the first video, we've discussed the structure of a flower. In the second video, we'll discuss development of pollen grains in the anther and development of embryo sac in the ovule. In the third video, we discuss pollination and double fertilization in the flower. So in this fourth video, we're going to discuss the development of seeds and fruits and relate the structure of seeds to ovules, relate the structure of fruits to ovaries. And in the last video, which will be the next video, stay tuned to it, okay, to receive it because it's going to be posted soon. We'll discuss the importance of seeds for survival and a topic that came out in SPM 2022, which are the 4 different types of fruit. How to differentiate the 4 different types of fruit. Okay, so this is quite important. And please stay tuned for the last video too. So now we are at this part here, development of seeds and fruits after double fertilization. So let's start with development of seeds and fruits after the double fertilization process has occurred in the ovules. So here we see the development of the seed and fruit of the tomato plant, right? And these are all the different types of fruits, all right? Some are actually known as vegetables, okay, but they're actually fruits. So how is a fruit formed? How is a seed formed? And how is a fruit formed? Let's find out more. The development of an embryo after fertilization. So let's look at the picture of the carpel, which is the female reproductive structure in the flower. And the carpel consists of the stigma, right? The green structure here. The stigma is at the top of the carpel. Then we have the long style leading to the ovary, which is the swollen part here. And inside there is the ovule where fertilization, called double fertilization, occurs between the male gamete and the female gamete or ovum or egg cell. So after the fertilization between male gamete and female gamete, the zygote is formed. all right, in the ovule here. And there's a nucleus in the center of the zygote, okay. And then we have the integuments, which are the two layers that protect the ovule. Together, the micropyle here, the pore, tiny pore here. Then below we have the sepals and then the peduncle. So this is after double fertilization has occurred. Now let's start with the zygote that is formed. If you look at this picture, it looks a bit like a chicken, right? Right? Okay, anyway, look at the zygote form here. So the diploid zygote that is formed after fertilization between male and female gametes in the plant will divide by mitosis to form two cells. The upper cell here is called the terminal cell. It's the smaller cell, which becomes an embryo through mitosis. It will develop and it will divide and form more and more cells. As you can see here, there are 3 cells here now. Okay, so all these processes, the arrow represents the process called mitosis. Okay, so from 3 cells after mitosis, it forms a ball of cells, and the embryo keeps growing. So then it forms a heart-shaped structure like that, right? Finding a structure that's V-shaped like this in the ovule. Okay, so this yellow structure here is the embryo that grows and develops, and then it will differentiate to form 3 parts. The food store are called the cotyledons, right? As for eudicot plants, they have 2 cotyledons here. And then the plumule is the young shoot. It will develop to form the young shoot. The radicle will develop to form the young root. So these 3 parts, cotyledons, plumule, and radicle, make up the embryo, which is diploid. Diploid in its in the condition, okay, for the condition of the chromosomes. Now, what happens to the other cell that is formed through mitosis of the zygote? The basal cell. Basal means it's at the bottom, okay? So the larger cell called the basal cell develops into a suspensor. That means it will divide by mitosis and form more and more cells, right? Here, the orange part here. And this suspensor functions to anchor the embryo to the wall of the embryo sac. Okay, so this is the suspensor here. It will anchor the whole embryo here, the yellow structure, to the wall of the embryo sac. Okay, the brown structure here. So that's it for the development of the zygote. Then next, what about the other product of double fertilization? What is the other product of double fertilization? It's the triploid endosperm nucleus, which is not shown here, but it is found in the ovule too, after double fertilization. Okay, as shown in this picture here. Okay, in the ovule. So this nucleus will again divide. Will also divide by mitosis to form more and more cells, and these cells will make up the endosperm tissue, which is another type of food store that is different from the cotyledons. Okay, because the endosperm tissue is triploid in condition. That means there's 3 sets of chromosomes. Whereas cotyledons are diploid. They have 2 sets of chromosomes. Okay, so this triploid endosperm tissue also serves to store food, such as carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins, so that this food can be supplied to the embryo, okay, for development and also for seed germination. The embryo will need carbohydrates, which it will oxidize through cellular respiration to produce energy for the germination of the seed, when the embryo will grow its new young shoot and the young root. Now here in the last picture here, where is the endosperm? The endosperm surrounds the embryo. Okay, it's the pink structure here. The endosperm will develop and grow more, and there'll be more and more cells. Okay, so it will surround the embryo. All right, the pink structure surrounding the embryo. So this diagram here shows us the later stages of development of the seed and fruit after fertilization. Okay, later on. Now here you can see that the style has withered away. So the style and stigma will wither away. They will degenerate and wither away after double fertilization. Okay, so they more or less disappear from the fruit. Now the ovary wall will swell. So the whole ovary will become the fruit. The ovary wall will become the fruit wall, called the pericarp later on. And then the ovule is this part here, the whole light orange structure here. It will become the seed that is attached to the wall of the ovary, okay, through this stalk called the funicle. So then integuments will form the seed coat. So there are two integuments. They'll form the seed coat known as the testa on the outer part and the tegment on the inner part. So this seed coat will be tough and protect the growing embryo in the seed. Now, the next parts here, all these parts here have been discussed just now in the previous slide. So the embryo develops from the zygote, right? So zygote undergoes mitosis to form the embryo, which is diploid, and the embryo will grow into the young plant. And the embryo differentiates to form three parts, the cotyledons, plumule, and radicle. Okay, cotyledons is the foot stalk, plumule is a young shoot, radicle is a young root, and then the endosperm, which is triploid in its condition, is the foot stalk, also a foot stalk like cotyledons, but cotyledons are diploid. Okay, whereas endosperm is a triploid tissue. And then we have the suspensor here, which attaches and anchors the embryo to the embryo sac and to the whole seed or ovule. Now later on, as the cotyledons keep increasing in size, they may bend into an N-shaped structure like that. All right. So in some books, you see the diagram of the embryo is V-shaped. In some books, it's like N-shaped like that. Okay. So it may, when the cotyledons here grow more and more, they may bend downwards. So they'll form the N-shaped structure here. So these are the growing cotyledons that store more and more food. And then we have the plumule, radicle. Okay, so these three parts form the embryo. Now what happens to the endosperm? As time goes on in the development of the seed, the endosperm may be used up, fully used up, as for eudicots like the bean plant, bean seed, right? So the endosperm may disappear, and then the food is stored in the cotyledons, okay? Because the endosperm tissue has been used for the development of the embryo. But in monocots, there is still some endosperm left, okay, which can help the embryo to survive for a long time in the seed if conditions are not favorable for germination. Okay, so endosperm may be present or not present depending on the type of seed. If it's the eudicot seed, most of the time endosperm will disappear, okay, will be used up. But in monocots, there's some endosperm left, like in the corn or maize seed. Now here is the micropyle, which is the tiny pore to allow oxygen and water to move into the tissues here to the embryo for germination of the seed. Okay, and then this outer layer here is called the testa. It forms a seed coat that protects the growing embryo. Now here's an interesting memory aid. The word seed. What does a seed contain? So a seed contains three parts. The outer seed coat, which consists of the testa and the tegment. Okay, the testa is the outermost layer, tegment is the inner layer, okay, of the seed coat. And then, so S is for seed coat, which includes the testa. Now E for embryo. So the embryo contains three parts. C for cotyledons, P for plumule, R for radicle. So CPR. You know, CPR is actually means cardiopulmonary resuscitation, okay, which is an action taken to prevent, to rescue a person who is having a heart attack and so forth, right? CPR. So embryo consists of cotyledons, C for cotyledons, P for plumule, R for radicle. And lastly, the second E is for endosperm. Okay, so a seed contains three parts. S for seed coat, E for embryo, and E for endosperm. But in the dicotyledons, eudicots, in the eudicots, the endosperm may have disappeared. and all the food is stored in the cotyledons. Okay. For monocots, most monocots still have the endosperm. Okay. Generally, monocots still contain endosperm, and they also have cotyledons. So remember, seed, S stands for seed coat, E for embryo, and E for endosperm. Now, the ovary wall develops to form the fruit wall in the fruit after double fertilization. Okay, so ovary wall becomes fruit wall, and there are two types of fruit walls. Now, the fruit wall is known as the pericarp. Okay, pericarp. So there are two types of pericarp: the fleshy pericarp and the dry pericarp. Now, let's look at the first example: fleshy pericarp. For example, in the mango fruit. So in the mango fruit, the pericarp is thick, fleshy, juicy, and succulent, right? So pericarp is the fruit wall that develops from the ovary wall. Now, if it is thick and fleshy, then it has three parts. The exocarp, which is the outer skin, sometimes it's called the epicarp. Then you have the mesocarp, the center, middle layer, middle layer, which is usually the fleshy part that is edible and eaten by humans and animals. Then the last layer is called the endocarp. Endo means the inner part. So the endocarp can either be hard or soft. Okay. So in the mango, the endocarp is actually an inner hard wall, right? But after you've eaten the mango, you're left with the endocarp and the seed inside. So if you shake the endocarp, shake the whole structure, you can hear the sound of something moving inside. That's the seed, right? Now, inside the endocarp, which is hard, is the seed. So the seed consists of three parts: the embryo, which consists of the plumule, radicle, and cotyledons, plus the endosperm, which surrounds the embryo, and then the outermost layer is the seed coat that protects the seed and the embryo. Okay? Now, sometimes the endosperm is absent because the endosperm is already used up for the development of the embryo. But if the endosperm is not used up, it is present in the seed. This is especially true for monocots, such as the maize seed. Endosperm is still present. Okay, but for the bean seed, which is a eudicot, the endosperm is no longer present there. Okay, all the food is stored in the cotyledons that are well developed. Now next, the seed is formed from the ovule after fertilization. This has been discussed. Now look at the example of a dry pericarp as seen in the pea fruit, right? So for example, snow peas or other types of peas that we eat in the food that we use to fry. Okay, the fruit itself is thin, has a thin, dry pericarp. Okay, thin, dry fruit wall. Now inside, looking at the cross section, we have the seeds inside the fruit, and then there's the seed stalk called the funicle to attach the seed to the dry pericarp. Okay, a funicle is sometimes called funiculus according to Wikipedia. So let's look at an example of the development of the ovary into the fruit after fertilization. We'll take the example of the tomato plant. Okay, so here you see the flower of the tomato plant. It has many filaments and anthers, and this part is known as actually the stamen, right? So the stamens are more or less like fused together, surrounding the stigma, right? And then there's a style, and inside the ovary, there's the ovule. So there are many ovules in the ovary. One ovary, but many ovules. Okay, right. So after fertilization, the ovary will develop into the fruit. Okay, now this is the fruit, and the position is as in the flower. It's the same as in the flower. So this ovary here, the blue layer, will become the red layer here, the fruit, which consists of three parts. The ovary wall consists of three parts. the exocarp, which is the skin, the mesocarp, which is the center juicy layer, and then endocarp, okay, here. Okay, so all these three parts make up the pericarp, which is the fruit wall, which is formed from the ovary wall, the blue layer here. Now, the ovules inside will develop and form the seed containing the embryo. And the sepal remains as it is, and also the peduncle, which is the flower stalk, and then it will become the fruit stalk. Okay. Now, how about the style and stigma? They will degenerate, they will wither away, leaving a scar on the bottom, so-called bottom part of the tomato. So because when the fruit of the tomato grows bigger, it will sort of bend downwards. Okay. Then this part will be the bottom part. In the textbook, there's one activity, activity 6.6, in which students are asked to observe the structure of the papaya fruit and relate it to the structure of the papaya flower. So here are the results. Now, we are going to observe the papaya flower, that is the female one. So for papaya trees, there are three types of papaya trees. First one only produces female papaya flowers, which have flowers where there are couples only. Okay, the female reproductive structure called a couple. Then there's another type of tree which produces only the male papaya flower, which have the stamens in the flowers, only the stamens, which is the male reproductive structure. And the third type of papaya tree produces flowers with both male and female reproductive structures. This is called the hermaphrodite papaya tree. Okay, but we are looking at the female papaya flower that only has the female reproductive structure, okay, which is the couple. So it only has couple, it doesn't have stamens, which is the male reproductive structure. Now, so in this female papaya flower, we can see that it consists of actually only one couple. Each flower has only one couple, but there are a few stigmas branching up. Okay, but it's one couple with one ovary. All right. So this whole structure is called the couple. There's one ovary that's very big, and then it has many ovules inside, which are attached to the wall of the ovary. Okay, so after fertilization, the ovary will develop to form the fruit, and the ovary wall will develop to form the fruit wall in the fruit. So the fruit wall is called the pericarp. So papaya has a thick, fleshy pericarp or fruit wall, okay, which can be eaten. So if it's a fleshy pericarp, there are three parts. The exocarp, which forms the skin of the papaya fruit. The mesocarp is the middle layer, which is juicy and can be eaten. And then the third layer is the endocarp, okay, which is, in this case, is not a hard tissue, it's soft, endocarp. And then in the space, in the center of the papaya fruit, there are many seeds which are formed from the many ovules that were found in the papaya flower earlier. Okay, so after fertilization, the ovules will develop to form the seeds. Okay, and then below here you have the fruit stalk. Before that you have the peduncle or flower stalk, and then develops to form the fruit stalk. Okay, the stigma and star will degenerate and wither away, so there will be a scar at the top here. Now, another thing to note is that the papaya fruit is a simple fruit. So what is a simple fruit? It's a type of fruit that develops from one ovary only in a flower, where the flower has only one ovary, okay, that then develops to form the fruit. Okay, because there are other types of fruit where there are many ovaries, okay, inside a single flower. So we'll be studying the different types of fruits in the next video, right? This is an important topic to study. Right, so you can copy this down to for your activity 6.6, all right, in your notebook. So here is a good table to show you the summary of what we have discussed just now. That means the part of the flower and the changes to these parts after double fertilization. What do they become? What do they develop into? Okay, so let's go through this very quickly, even though we have discussed it earlier. The zygote, which is diploid, divides by mitosis after double fertilization. It develops into the embryo, which consists of the plumule that forms the shoot, radicle forms the root, and cotyledons form the food store in the eudicots, right, such as in the bean seed. Now, the triploid endosperm nucleus, 3N, develops by dividing by mitosis, and it develops into the endosperm tissue, which is the food store that contains carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. So the function of the endosperm is that the food in the endosperm is used for the development of the embryo and the germination of the seed, right? So the endosperm is usually present in the monocots such as the maize seed, but it may not be present anymore in the bean plants, which are the eudicots, right? Because we have learned earlier that the endosperm in the eudicots are used up, and the eudicots store their food in the cotyledons, not in the endosperm, for most eudicots. Now, thirdly, the ovule. The ovule in the flower develops into the seed inside the fruit. Okay, ovule develops into the seed. The two integuments on the external part of the ovule becomes two layers of seed coat. The outer layer is the testa, and the inner layer is the tegmen. The function of the seed coat is to protect the embryo. Now, the ovary develops into the fruit. So the ovary wall will become the pericarp of the fruit, which may consist of three parts if the fruit is succulent or juicy. So, for example, in mangoes, papayas, and tomatoes, okay, there are three layers. The pericarp consists of three layers, which are the exocarp, the skin, the mesocarp, the fleshy inner layer, and the endocarp, which is the last layer. It can be either hard or it can be softer. Okay, lastly, we are still using the table format. The stigma and style, what happens to them after double fertilization? They will degenerate and leave a scar on the ovary wall. Okay. Now let's test ourselves. All right. So the question that can be asked in the essay section in the exam is describe the development of seeds and fruits. Okay, so you can pause the video for a while and try to answer the questions here or fill in the blanks, and then we can look at the answers in a short while. All right, let's look at the answer. After double fertilization, number one, the triploid endosperm nucleus, 3N, divides by what process? Mitosis, to form the endosperm tissue, okay, based on the word endosperm here. So triploid endosperm nucleus forms the endosperm tissue. Now, what is the function of endosperm? It stores food and surrounds and supplies nutrients to one structure, which is the embryo. Now, the diploid zygote, which is 2N, divides by mitosis 2 to form two cells. So here we see the two cells formed from one diploid zygote, all right, that is formed through the fertilization of the egg cell by the male gamete, right? So this diploid zygote divides by mitosis to form two cells. Now the smaller cell on top becomes the what? Yes, embryo. That consists of three parts. What are the three parts of the embryo? Plumule, radicle, and cotyledon. Then the larger cell below here, which is the basal cell, develops into a suspensor that anchors the embryo to the wall of the embryo sac, okay, where the zygote is found. So that's the function of the suspensor, to anchor the embryo to the wall of the embryo sac. Next, the whole ovule where this zygote is found and the endosperm is found, the whole ovule will develop to form the what? Yes, the seed in the fruit, right? Then the integuments that surround the ovule, okay, the outer part of the ovule, become two layers of seed coat that protect the embryo. the carpel swells, the ovary develops into a fruit. Okay, now here you see the ovary that's a bit swollen in the flower. It will grow bigger and bigger and form the fruit here. All right. So the ovary wall here becomes the what of the fruit? Pericarp. Okay, so the pericarp is the wall of the fruit. And if it is a juicy fruit, it will have 3 layers. The pericarp consists of 3 layers. What are they? Yes, exocarp, mesocarp, and endocarp. Okay, next, flower petals drop off. Okay, all these petals will drop off. And then the stigma and the style here in the flower will what? Degenerate or wither. And it'll leave a scar. It will leave a scar on the top part of the fruit here. All right, here. Okay, opposite the sepals. Now the sepals instead still remain on the fruit, and it can still be seen. Okay, it's still green. All right, these are the sepals. Lastly, let's try the formative exercise 6.4. Now you can try these questions by yourself first to test your understanding, and then pause the video and try, and then try the questions, and after that you will look at the answers. Right, let's look at the answers. Now, first question. After fertilization, the zygote formed in an embryo sac undergoes mitosis to produce 2 cells. Explain the importance of these 2 cells. So firstly, one cell develops to form the suspensor, and the other cell develops to form the embryo. Number 2, what is the structure of a seed that enables it to be stored for a long time before it germinates? And then explain the function of this structure. How does it help the seed to be stored for a long time without dying? So the structure is the testa, which is a tough and waterproof seed coat that protects the embryo from the harsh, unfavorable environmental conditions, such as dry conditions. So unfavorable environmental conditions include dry conditions, which can lead to dehydration, meaning water loss from the seed and from the embryo inside the seed. But because of the testa that is waterproof, it can prevent excessive water loss from the seed, right? And it can keep the seed or the embryo alive for a long time before germination. Right, let's go on to the third question here. What is the function of the suspensor in the development of seeds? Right, so suspensor. The suspensor anchors the embryo to the wall of the embryo sac inside the ovule. What functions of the plumule and radicle in an embryo in a seed? That's number 4. Functions of plumule and radicle in the embryo of a seed. Firstly, the plumule. Plumule grows upwards to form the young shoot. Now the radicle grows downwards to form the young root of the seedling. Number 5, the exocarp of some fruits protect the fruits from spoiling. That means from becoming rotten. Explain how it does so. So the exocarp is the outermost layer of the pericarp or fruit wall. Okay, so it is found in some fruits, that especially the juicy or succulent fruits. So the function of the exocarp. Now, firstly, you can state the characteristic. It is a strong outer waterproof skin or layer of the fruit, right? The outermost layer. And sometimes it is waterproof and it's tough, right? Depending on the fruit. So it protects the fruit from water loss and fungal attack, right? So testa protects the seed, but the exocarp protects the fruit from water loss. So, and also from fungal attack. Number 6, explain the importance of the endosperm to the maize seed. As we know, the maize seed contains, as you can see here, an area filled up with the endosperm tissue. What is the function of the endosperm? So the function or importance of the endosperm is that it is a food store that is used for the development and growth of the embryo, and also for the germination of the seed. So the germination of the seed occurs when the young shoot is formed to grow out from the seed, and the young root is also formed to grow into the soil. Okay, so this germination of the seed needs energy, which is provided by the carbohydrates as stored in the endosperm. Okay, right. So that's all for this lesson. Please do share, like, and subscribe to my channel. And thanks for viewing. So see you again in another video. Now in the next video, actually, we are going to discuss the final part of this chapter 6, okay, on the reproduction of plants. We will discuss the 4 types of fruits, which have been asked or discussed in the SPM question for 2022, in the structured question. So there's one question on types of fruits in the previous exams, and also we will discuss the importance of the seed for the survival of the plant. So please stay tuned for the last video.